All right, next we're going to be looking at the index match formula. Fundamentally, the index match formula really solves the same problem as the Vlookup formula. It allows us to pull in values within a particular cell that exists somewhere else and really match it up and line it up with one of our match keys. So let's go ahead and actually, before we get started, compare and contrast really the differences between a Vlookup and an index match. Really, the benefits of a Vlookup is that it's really logical. In fact, if you take a look at the formula, it almost works exactly the same way as the questions one would ask if they wanted to manually pull in values. And some of the downsides of a Vlookup, as we discussed previously in the previous Vlookup video, whenever we found our particular location of interest, it only allowed us really to find a column to the right of it. If you recall, we entered the value 2 in order to get this value to the right of our location and pull it in. But it doesn't allow us to actually go to the left of that document. And what I've actually done is I've gone in here into this sheet that we used in the Vlookup section of the video and just added a brand new column here for the bus route. So we have the bus route, we have the neighborhood, and then we have whether or not that neighborhood is wealthy. I will have the updated version of this document in the project detail section as well. So you can go ahead and copy it and then put it into this section of the workbook. So that's the first downside of a Vlookup. We're sort of restricted. Once we line up the match key, we can really only go to the right. The second downside to a Vlookup is that it's actually slow. It's relatively slow, especially if you say have 5 columns and then 500,000 rows and you're doing Vlookups. You'll quickly see that Excel starts to really hang up and get slow, and then your computer starts to get very hot because it's doing all those calculations. So those are the two downsides. You can only go to the right and it's a bit slow. And in fact, the index match solves both of these problems. The downside though, it's not very intuitive. You sort of have to memorize the formula when you do it. So let's go ahead and actually get started with it. We'll go ahead and do it in real time, and you'll just have to memorize the steps in terms of what comes first in the formula. So in terms of the problem statement here, what we want to do now is we have the neighborhood. We know whether or not it's wealthy, but now we want to pull in the bus route for the particular neighborhood. So right next to wealthy, I'm going to go ahead and highlight that column. We're going to hit insert, and we're going to put bus route here as the header. So now we'll go ahead and do the index match. And the formula here is, as with all formulas, we'll hit equals, and then we'll type in index. And what we'll do is open a parentheses, and now we'll go back to sheet 1 here. And what we're going to do is highlight the column of the final value that we want. So the final value is going to be the bus route value. So we're going to highlight that entire column because that's going to be where the final value comes from. Once we've done that, we'll hit a comma. And now we'll go back and type match here, M-A-T-C-H, and then open another parentheses. And now we can go back to the patient appointments tab. And at this point, what we want to do is actually select our match key. In other words, what are we searching for? Which is going to be this value here. This is the neighborhood name. And now we'll hit another comma. The next step is we're going to go back into sheet 1, and we're going to find the corresponding column that's related to the neighborhoods. We're going to actually highlight the entire neighborhood column. And at this point, we can hit another comma. Now we will hit a 0. The 0 is equivalent to the false of the index match. It gives us an exact match. And then we'll close 2 parentheses. And what we'll see is it pulls in the bus route. And now, of course, if we double click on this corner here, it will apply that formula all the way down. So again, this would not have been possible with a Vlookup because this bus route thing is actually to the left of our match key.